This is Hunter Muse.
And this is Chris Snipes, and you are listening
to The Melt.
Well, why don't you, recount your experience coming back from... I'm trying to remember the exact point at which the last episode stopped, but perhaps you remember.
So, I think the cliffhanger was, what happened to the $6,000? That was what Hunter had asked.
Okay.
Just wanted to know how I ended up getting it back temporarily.
Uh-huh.
And when I walked back to the hotel from the Ruby Tuesdays close to the mental institution, I was amazed at how many motorcycles there were on this little stretch of road. And this wasn't on the highway. These were like Hell's Angels. And I was even more shocked to see that they were parked in the hotel parking lot. So
interesting.
So I on this walk back that maybe took an hour, because I didn't know the way, I passed by. Well, they passed me. This motorcycle gang in their full leathers and Harley Davidsons, and they looked like Hell's Angels or something. But they were also staying at that same hotel, so it was a busy hotel. A whole cast of characters came through this place. There were lots of cops, lots of military people. A soccer conference must have been in town because there were kids that were keeping us up at night playing soccer in the hallways. But a pretty diverse crowd.
And us would be you and
me and the other guys on my crew.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
the other electricians that were there with me.
Okay.
I didn't know much else to do besides check and see if I still had a room there, which they had checked me out. So I felt like that was a spur to get me to leave. Like, you no longer have a room here. You're no longer on this crew. You quit. So, find your way home.
Gotcha. You're on.
So I wanted
you on your own.
Yeah. I checked with the hotel staff, and they did have my luggage. And I asked if I could see it. So they showed me to this conference room. And I opened up my suitcase and started rifling through my stuff. And there was a few things missing. The weirdest thing that was missing was my toothbrush. I had a nice like Sonicare toothbrush, and that was gone. So somebody must have forgotten to grab it, or I don't know. Whoever rifled through my stuff took it out and forgot to put it back, something like that.
So your luggage had been packed for you, and it was waiting for you someplace.
I think they had gone through it. Yeah, it looked like it had been kind of ruffled through, not neatly packed.
Mm-hmm.
The two guns that I had brought with me were also gone. And there was a note, a little business card from the police department with a number to call, and I did call it. I made sure that they had my guns. There was a .45 and a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I brought those two. I liked those.
A shotgun? That's not the most traveling friendly firearm.
Well, it was... No, not really, but it fit in the suitcase, and it had a pistol grip, not like a rifle.
Gotcha.
So, The .45 was a Ruger American, and it shot real straight and true. I was pretty accurate with that one.
Mm-hmm.
.45 is a great caliber, by the way. So I called the number, and I made sure they had the guns. They said they did. And I asked them to just keep them, and I said I wouldn't be coming back for them because I planned on leaving that night. after searching through the suitcase, I found the $6,000 in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it rolled up in a little wad of cash. So I counted it, and it was all there. I thought,
Cool.
okay, that should be enough to get me home,
Yeah, no shit.
no matter which way.
Uh-huh.
So the initial plan was to go to the airport and fly something standby back to Denver, because there was an airport in really close proximity to this hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which one it is, but if you look up Chester, you could probably find it. And I urge you to find it, because I want to know if it's normal procedure for this airport to not have any planes leaving. No planes.
What?
Not to Florida, not to New York, not to Washington, D.C., not to Denver.
What?
No planes at all. And nobody at the airport. There was nobody there. It wasn't that late at night.
That's weird.
Before I called the Uber and went to the airport, I did see 2 guys from my crew that just happened to be cruising through the lobby of the hotel. And that's when I found out that they had called in the security check and had brought in the welcoming party the day before.
Did they kind of back away from you psychologically?
Yeah.
Were they kind of freaked out?
They were a little freaked out. They looked sheepish.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of yelled at them a little bit, called them some names, maybe. But mostly it was just because in that moment I was shocked that they didn't think it was a prank.
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't think it was a joke.
Uh-huh. Gotcha. Like they took you at face value.
Yeah, they thought it was just me being completely off my rocker.
And threatening to have their wives raped.
Yeah, well, that too.
Yeah.
But I could later on, I could see their side of the whole thing, obviously. But yeah, I'd kind of pushed them a little bit. And before, my parting shot was not to let them off the hook, but to say, like, I think this whole thing was a big misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we just had just enough history between us that I felt like I needed to challenge him a little bit. Anyway,
were they up to that challenge?
Time will tell. I would love to this day to get a phone call from one of those guys and say, like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. Oh, they probably would ask you the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine. If any one of those guys called me up today and said, "Hey, what the hell happened?" we'd have a good conversation about it.
Yeah.
Because, as John Lennon said, time wounds all heals. But so I got my guitar, I got my backpack, I got my suitcase.
Mm-hmm. I
called an Uber, and I had them take me. It really wasn't a long ride, just maybe 5 minutes down the road to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Got out, realized that there was nobody there, nobody at the baggage claim, nobody at the ticket counter, no TSA, no nothing.
So strange.
So my next plan was to walk outside to the rental car companies and see if anybody would rent me a car.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the first place, and they said they wouldn't let me enter because it said you have to wear a mask. This is not my kind of place.
Yes.
So I went next door to the Hertz rental car company, and they let me in, no mask required.
Mm-hmm.
I paid for the car, and it was a red Honda Civic, a 2020 red Honda Civic, and I liked it. I said, yeah, this is the car for me. So rather than leave, because it was getting kind of late, I told my parents I wasn't going to try to drive home that night, and I'd get a hotel room at a different hotel, and get started first thing in the morning. But I couldn't sleep, and I don't know if I mentioned that in the last show, but sleep was like not happening since the time I saw that craft in the sky to
Mm-hmm.
all the way until I got home to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'm sorry. Because you were thinking that you were replaying something in your mind, or was it just an energetic?
Well, normally I don't have any trouble sleeping. I still don't.
Mm-hmm.
It was unique to this trip. It was unique to after I saw the craft.
Gotcha.
I thought that it had something to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, since I wasn't sleeping, I got up at like 3 in the morning, out of bed, packed my stuff, got in the car. And I also felt at this time that because of the motorcycles and because of where I just was and the way I had left there, that there might have been some gang stalking going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of took that for granted. So I thought to make things a little bit more interesting, I would leave early in the morning rather than, at a normal time. So I got in the car at 3 in the morning, checked out of the hotel. Let's see. The weird part about embarking on the trip in the car was that my cell phone wouldn't show me any street maps. My cell phone started acting really strange. So I could hear the instructions of where to turn over the Bluetooth in the car,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't visually, see where I was headed.
Weird.
It was the only time that's ever happened.
So,
You know what? This might be weird. I'm going to grab a blanket just because my apartment's kind of cold tonight.
yeah, do it.
Yeah. Nice. It'll be like camping out. Yeah.
It'd be like a sleepover.
So I knew that vaguely that I had to make it back to I-80 somehow and start heading west.
Mm-hmm.
So before the sun wasn't up, and so I couldn't really get my bearings, but it felt like I was going on a very circuitous route to get back to the highway somehow. But when I got on the highway, I felt much better temporarily,
Mm-hmm.
because as soon as it became daylight and I'm going through these tunnels and kind of making my way across Pennsylvania, I started noticing that there were these SUVs with government plates like parked on the side of the road. And as soon as I'd catch up with it, it would take off in front of me. Like almost like it was escorting me. It wasn't they weren't trailing me, but they were kind of a few car lengths ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know whether to chalk that up to paranoia or make something of it, but I felt safe. So I kept driving and I was listening to my Spotify account and listening to different podcasts. I think I listened to a Sam Tripoli podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the subject of the show, I can't remember who he was interviewing, but the subject of the show was how we kind of live in a haunted house. Am I coming through pretty clear?
Yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of the guest.
Yeah, I wish I could too. I'd love to refer people to it, but because he was a great guest. And he was talking about how we live in a haunted house. And in my mind, as I was driving, I was referencing all the podcasts that I could think of that I'd listened to that were talking about this subject. And one came to mind was QAnon Anonymous, which I think it's a great podcast. It's not what it appears to be at first glance.
Yes.
They pass on a lot of information through that show. They hate QAnon.
Yeah.
Or at least this is the pose they're taking.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to blow up their spot too much, except to say that one of the shows that I can remember hearing in the past few months was about this group that travels around the country, especially at Halloween time. And I think it's called Hell House.
Oh yeah.
And it's a bunch of people that it's an immersion kind of haunted house where they'll show a scene of a girl getting an abortion, or they'll show the scene of somebody that died in an accident and is waiting at the gates to decide their fate, whether they're going to heaven or hell. They're
Yes.
demon possessed. It's trying to show people, like, scare people straight and get them to convert to Christianity.
Yes, there's a great documentary about that.
And I thought that what I had just experienced in that insane asylum in Chester, what were the chances that it could have been something like that? A haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
And if it works once, it probably works multiple times, and all kinds of marks. So, with that in mind, somebody's knocking at the door. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go for it.
It might be one of my kids. I better check on it.
Sure. Oh boy.
Oh man, well that never happens. It wasn't one of my kids. It was somebody canvassing for a politician.
Oh, of course.
That's a first.
Hey, just as an aside, real quick, was the name of the tinfoil hat episode "Sorcery of the Haunted House"?
Yeah, probably.
With John
Do you know
Paul
what
Rice.
episode that was?
John Paul
Yeah.
Rice.
Yeah.
I have not heard that episode, but I have had John Paul Rice on the Melt before. The same dude.
I will have to look it up in the catalog. I love your back catalog. I've been perusing it and listening to lots of episodes lately.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like your podcast format, probably the best. I can say that. I think you put a lot of effort into it in post, and it really shows.
Thank you. I do, actually. Yeah, that's important to me. Yeah. There's so many shitty sounding podcasts that doesn't do the subject matter justice.
Exactly. Well, you should be proud, because it's something to be. It's an asset. It'll,
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. But I don't want to butter you up too much.
Okay.
Back to the story.
Yes.
Okay. So, making my way across Pennsylvania, the sun comes out eventually, and it's early morning. I felt like there was a presence accompanying me on the road. Like I said, this weird trend of seeing the government vehicle parked to the right, and then waiting until I am pulling up there, and then it takes off in front of me.
Just one of
them.
That
happened maybe 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Different vehicles every time.
Okay.
And I started going slow to see if they'd just speed ahead. I tried going fast. I tried passing them. They stayed with me the whole time.
Crazy.
Eventually, I had to stop for gas right as I crossed over the Ohio border. And I got an urge to try a different prank. This time, nothing caustic, nothing mean.
Uh-huh.
So I thought I'd make a memory of getting gas at this little Sinclair station off of I-80 in Ohio. So as I pulled up, there was just one woman at this little Sinclair station, and I said, "Hey, ma'am, I'm in a tough spot. I've only got $3 in my wallet, but I need to fill up my tank to get to my destination. I'm wondering if you could do me a solid and just let me fill up the tank. I'll give you these $3. And she's like, "Oh, sorry, honey, I can't do that for you. That's against company policy," which is what I expected her to say.
Of course.
So she goes in I said, "Okay, well, I guess I'll just spend my $3 and see how far that gets me." So I took $150 out of my wallet, and I slid it under the little under the glass where the cashier was.
A little slot. Uh-huh.
Just kind of sticking out, so she would notice it, but maybe not right away. So then I pulled around to the furthest pump and just filled up the tank. And I was kind of looking to see if she would notice, and her face looks out the glass like I was the only one there,
Uh-huh.
and I just I just waved and put the pump back and
Uh-huh.
took off. But
And left the
I thought,
change? Left
yeah,
the,
I left her $150 because
wow.
for some reason I thought I don't know if I won the Freemasons National Treasure or not, but I'm gonna this. I wasn't expecting to get this $6,000 back. I wasn't
Sure.
expecting to be on the road on my way to freedom again
Yeah.
so soon. So I wanted to kind of pay it forward. So I
hmm
thought if I can find a way to spend this $6,000 on the way home, maybe it'll make for a great story someday.
Can I
So
stop you real
go
quick?
ahead. Go ahead.
You mentioned when you were in the institution, and that whole experience actually starting that morning at the hotel when you were getting ready to prank your friends. You were in I don't remember the word that you described it. But you were in a very positive state of mind. You were like kind of riding
Oh
on
yeah,
cloud nine. Were you
I
still
was.
in that? You still on
Yeah,
that frequency at this point?
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there were peaks and valleys throughout this feeling of ecstasy,
hmm
but I felt like I had the Holy Spirit on me or something like that, you know? Um, that's Christian vernacular, but whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah. Hey, if it works, if it describes
I
it.
felt like I was being guided by
hmm
something supernatural,
Sure.
and it felt good. It felt good. I had the feeling like it was something that could spread
hmm
to if it could happen to me, it could happen to anybody else. So So I kept going down the road. I noticed there was just a lot of traffic for that time of morning. There were trucks and trucks just log jamming the highway. That we never came to a slowdown though. Everybody was still going the speed limit.
hmm
And I noticed that the clouds were looking different. Like there were these there were these triangular kind of rainbow clouds, and I thought, am I tripping or are those weird clouds? And I was trying to pay attention to what was going on the road while taking a few glances at the clouds, but they looked exactly like these strange clouds that I had seen in Colorado right about the same time that the news was coming out that there was a huge fire in Superior in Rock Creek
hmm
near Boulder, and 600 people were evacuated from their houses, and it was the same pattern of burn that we saw in the Paradise fires in California, where the house itself would burn down to ashes, but then you'd see trees in their yards still standing.
hmm
So, and I remember hearing that news, and at the time looking at the clouds in Colorado and seeing the same patterns, the same kind of weird shapes in the
hmm
clouds.
Yeah.
So one of these times when I was glancing at the clouds and I looked back at the road real quick and I saw just a series of little like soccer cones, not the big parking cones that you'd expect to see when there's road construction, but little soccer cones.
hmm
And and no sign, no warning like, hey, there's going to be a lane closure up ahead. Just these cones. And I saw it too late, and the right lane in traffic was logged with these truckers, practically bumper to bumper going the speed limit. There was no way for me to get over.
hmm
So seeing as how those cones were so small and I had no other choice, I just rushed through them. And exactly at that moment when I was braking and coming to a stop, the engine of this Honda Civic just decided to throw every light on the dash on. I didn't know what to make of that. But then as I came to a stop, the car just went dead. Wouldn't turn on, no radio, no nothing.
Holy shit.
So I popped the hood and got out. I looked at the motor. It looked fine from above, but then I looked underneath and there was oil all over the ground.
Oh my god.
Almost like it had just like dropped the drain pan. And
Was
I
there
was,
a horrible
go
noise
ahead.
that accompanied that?
No, it just,
That's
it looked like, yeah, there had been some kind of minor explosion in the car, and it detonated itself.
Was there
Luckily, when I was in a safe place, right?
Yeah, exactly. Was there any of those vehicles that you have seen along the way around at this point?
All there was a road crew working about 500 yards up the road.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I started walking to see if I could get help from one of those guys, because I knew I probably would have to get the car towed at that point. It wouldn't start, it wouldn't do anything.
Sure.
So as the guy in the truck started to back up towards me as I was walking towards him, and he just rolled down the window and handed me the number of a tow truck driver.
Without you even talking to him?
Yeah. I didn't have to explain shit to him. He just basically handed me the number to the tow truck driver.
Right on cue.
So one of the pictures I sent you was of that tow truck driver that showed up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to get a picture of him because I thought, man, this guy could be a character. I felt like I was on a track. I was on a ride, Weird thing about my perception of things at this time was that I felt like I had just crossed over the border of Ohio. Like maybe I felt like I was maybe 60 miles in. I wasn't keeping close track, and I wish I had. Because when I...
Is that the truck driver?
The guy.
Okay.
That's the guy. Yeah, I think his name was Steve.
Hey, Steve.
He wasn't as friendly as he looks in that picture. He wasn't talkative, at least.
He doesn't look that friendly in this. He looks like a hobbit, actually.
Yeah, a little bit. I was having a hard time engaging him in conversation. In fact, I think he shut me down when I tried to ask him some questions.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And not in an unfriendly way, but not very talkative. I don't think he even wanted me riding in his cab, honestly.
Uh-huh.
But he did something unexpected on our little trip to Wauseon. We were passing by this field of wheat, and he pointed out these deer that were running across the field, and just the way their coats were catching the sunlight, they looked iridescent.
Interesting.
And he made sure I saw them, and I watched them. They transfixed my attention for as long as we could track them, and it was almost like they were running as fast as the truck.
Did he say anything when he pointed to them, or did he just point to them stoically?
Just look at those deer. Just look over there. And I thought they were special deer somehow. So he drops me off in the parking lot of the Walmart in Wauseon. I said, that's as good a place as any. It wasn't going to interfere with anybody. I didn't know how long I was going to be stuck there. So I had the feeling that I'd called the Hertz car company and explained the situation, and seeing as how I thought we had just crossed the border, I wasn't really good on Ohio geography, but I thought the best answer was to get the car towed to a Hertz and either replace it there or take an airplane home. If it was in Cleveland, I would have options. So I thought my thinking was this: if they could destroy somehow remotely the engine of this Honda, or trigger some kind of mechanism, if I was being tracked, if the gang stalking and if I was some kind of targeted individual, then if I got another rental car, it would just be the same story all over again. So I was trying to strategize and think of my smartest route to get home. But either way, they told me that it was going to be 6 hours stranded in Wauseon before they could get a tow truck driver that could take me and the car all the way to Cleveland. And here's why it's strange. If you look at where Wauseon is on a map of Ohio, it is all the way over on the western border. So it would have made a lot more sense to take the car to Detroit.
Mhm.
but they requested that I take it to Cleveland instead. Isn't that strange?
It is strange. I wondered if no, I was going to say, do they need to keep it in the state? But it's a rental car. People are going to be driving it all over the place, so that doesn't make
Right.
any sense. Yeah, that's odd.
I specifically requested that I'd be taken to the nearest Hertz. If there was one in Wauseon, I would have gone there.
Sure.
But they told me, I said, I'm in your hands. I don't know where I am, and I need to get this back to you. So, you tell me.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent a tow truck. They dispatched a tow truck to me, but it was going to be a 6-hour wait. So I thought, well, that'll give me some time to explore this town. And I had the eerie feeling that they dropped me off in a specific place, because the haunted house experience wasn't over yet. So I thought, well, I'm going to go out and be a detective and snoop around and see what I can find. So across the street there was a GameStop. I went in there and I spent some of that $6,000 buying a PlayStation 5, some games, a bunch of controllers, and a really nice outfit for somebody that wanted to get into games. And part of it was an homage to the GameStop thing that had happened in the stock market a year before.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I was the only one in the whole store. People aren't spending money on video games the way they used to. Everything's downloaded now. So I'm going to go show GameStop some love. Walked out of there with shopping bags, put them back in the car, and then continued on down the strip mall. Thought I'd get a coffee or a tea or something, so I went into the coffee shop, and there was this line, like almost out the door, in this little coffee shop. And that was the first thing I noticed that was weird. I thought, why is there such a long line at this time of day? And it wasn't moving, so I left.
Yeah, nobody was at the airport before.
Nobody was at the airport. Where there was a line out the door at this little podunk town in Ohio.
Oh, strange.
It gets stranger.
Okay,
so
I'm sure.
I went down. I thought I could use a haircut, kind of like now. So I went into the Great Clips, and they had a seat ready for me. No wait at all. And the woman that cut my hair was super friendly. She was a character. She wanted to know what my favorite fruit was. And I said, I don't know, maybe an apple or a mango. And she said, mine's the bomb fruit. And it's this. And I said, I've never heard of the bomb fruit. What is it? And she said, it's this fruit from Central South America that when it falls to the ground, it goes off like a bomb, and the seeds scatter in all directions. Thousands of seeds.
Interesting.
I said, okay, I didn't know that. Thanks for the info. And she was very talkative. Wanted to know all about me. Got a nice haircut, and then I went to Dairy Queen. No long line there. I got a swirly. What's that thing called?
I think that's what
a blizzard. I got a blizzard.
Yes.
Not a swirly.
A swirly is something somewhere, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I think that's when they dip your head in the toilet.
Yes, that's what it is.
So I didn't realize how hungry I was. I needed that blizzard. Then I went into Ace Hardware, bought this really nice set of Milwaukee tools, like battery tools, power tools.
Yeah.
And I checked out, and then I just had this idea, like, you know what? I think I'm going to give these away here at the store. So I said, can I talk to the manager? It's nothing bad. I just want to tell him what a great job everybody did at the store helping me out.
Uh-huh.
So when the manager comes, he gave me the business card, which I think I sent you a picture of, right?
Yes.
Okay. He gives me his business card, which I had asked for, and
that one.
That's the one. So,
cool.
And I was thinking, like, if this is a Patonkan Village situation, then I want to gather as much information as I can and as much evidence as I can. And so he didn't strike me as a weird kind of actor type person playing a role in a haunted house. He was just a nice guy. And I said, look, I'm actually leaving on a trip, and I bought these tools for charity, but I can't take them with me. Could you find a handyman around town, somebody who's got some kids, somebody that likes to teach the trade, and make sure that he gets this set of tools? He says, sure, I'll do that for you. So I left the tools there. Then I went back over across the street to where the Walmart parking lot was. Checked in on the car. And the other thing that shared the parking lot with Walmart was a movie theater. So I thought, okay, that would be a nice way to kill some time. I walk. Go ahead.
Are you lugging around the PlayStation and all the games at this point?
No, I threw those in the trunk of the car.
Okay.
I threw those in the trunk of the car.
Gotcha.
They'll come back into the story in just a little bit.
Okay.
So I walk into the movie theater, and I'm the only one there. It was open. You could smell the popcorn. You could see the ticket stations. I was just the only one there, and it must have been like maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. It was getting to be maybe around lunchtime. That's important. Remember that. So I left, and I was reluctant to go in the Walmart because big Walmart.
Did you see a movie at the theater?
No.
Okay.
No, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why later on.
Okay.
So I go into the Walmart, and the first thing I thought was, I need a change of wardrobe. I need something for all these cameras that, these closed circuit cameras that are watching me through the store. I need to put on a show for these guys. Wear appropriate attire. So I bought this T-shirt, but before I bought it, I found it on the rack. This very T-shirt.
Cool.
This is the one.
Nice.
And I'm sorry, this story takes a long time to tell. And I haven't even gotten to the important part yet.
Yeah, we have an hour, at least an hour and 20 minutes left. So. Okay,
good deal. I took off my shirt right there in the store, the shirt I was wearing, and put this one on, and saved the tag and put it in my cart. Then I went to the shoe section, and I got some nice loafers. I actually have those over there. But they're just picture like canvas loafers.
Yeah.
And I took off my expensive work boots that I had bought not 2 weeks before, and I just left them right there in the shoe section, thinking, somebody will have a story to tell about these shoes, these nice work boots. So, feeling more comfortable, I went to the electronics section, and they had records there. They had no more CDs, no more tapes, but actual vinyl records.
Yeah.
So I started perusing through the records, and they had some good ones like, Prince, Michael Jackson, anyone that I liked, any record that I had in my actual collection, I put in the cart.
And they're like $30 a piece, right?
Yeah, they weren't cheap.
Yes.
So I got maybe like 20 different records, and I picked up a record player and an accompanying speaker set to go with it. It's like everything you would need to listen to these records was in the cart. I went to the sporting goods section, and I thought, it might be interesting to try to buy a gun here, but no, never mind. So I just bought some cool knives, the most expensive pocket knives they had there, and I thought those will make a good gift for the kids. And then I thought, what? This cell phone I've got that's probably tracking me, I think I need a new cell phone. So I went back to the electronics section, and I waited, and finally somebody came up, and I said, I'd like to buy the latest iPhone. And he gets it out of the case. I'm checking it out. He's telling me about the features. And then I said, I think I'd like to buy it. What do I need to do to buy it? And he runs some kind of check on me at this point, and he says, I'm sorry, you can't buy this phone. And I said, I have cash, my dear friend. I have cash. I'll buy it right now. I'll just buy the phone. I'll activate it later. He wouldn't sell me the phone. Would not sell me the phone. Yeah.
Did he take any information from you when he was doing whatever he was checking?
Yeah. Well, make of that what you will.
Okay.
At the time, I had really good credit, so it wasn't a credit thing.
Strange.
One of the first things I did when I got home was buy a phone. So, just to prove that was a fluke. I don't know what was going on there, but he wouldn't activate the phone. He wouldn't sell me the phone in the box, which is really strange, right?
Very, very strange. It seems like that would be illegal to not sell you. I mean, that's what it's there for.
Well, make of that what you will.
Yeah, we can go.
So
past
I didn't let it get me too down. I had a shopping cart full of cool stuff. So I went and checked out, and when I was in the line, there was this guy in a wheelchair, and he had on a Beatles shirt, just like the Beatles shirt that I used to wear in high school. It was like an Abbey Road shirt, said Beatles on it.
Mhm.
And we had a short little conversation while waiting to go through the checkout there. And there was also a National Geographic magazine with Jesus on the cover. And I thought, okay, I got it. National Geographic has I never read the article. I just thought it was funny. So I threw it in the cart and bought that too. And I didn't send you the picture because I don't want people to think I have too much of a Messiah complex.
Mhm.
But I did take a picture when my dad rescued me from the second mental institution of us in the car and me holding up the Jesus magazine.
I would like to see that
But
picture.
after I
That's-
checked out, I gave. Oh yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send
Okay,
it to you.
cool.
Actually, it's too far back in my phone. We
Yeah.
don't want to bore people while I look it up.
Sure.
I gave the manager at Walmart the same speech I gave the guy at Ace, but they said, "Sorry, sir, we can't help you out in that way." I said, maybe there's a poor kid in town that is into music and they could use a record collection like this, No, they weren't playing. So I took all the stuff I'd bought and threw it in the Honda, and must have had the receipt in the bag or something because, like I told you in our text conversation, later on all that stuff had been returned.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to the movie theater, not knowing what else to do at this point. Wanted to stay close to the car. And this time, there was the same kind of line that was at the coffee shop, even longer, at the ticket counter for the movies. Really long line.
Crazy.
And I thought, okay, maybe this is just a fluke of Wauseon, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I waited in the line for 10 minutes watching it not move. The same person at the front of the line that was there when I came in. So I thought, that's a really long time to sell somebody a movie ticket. And I thought, how long am I prepared to stand here like an asshole trying to get into a movie that I don't even really want to see?
Uh-huh.
So I left the theater and I went back to my car to think. So I put on my Bluetooth speaker and put music back on and sat there from whatever it was, like 2 p.m. till the sun went down.
Mm-hmm.
And to see if I could get some sleep, because I was tired. It wasn't like my lack of sleep wasn't catching up with me, but I would get these like 15-minute power naps and wake up fully alert, fully awake,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the tow truck driver guy comes after dark, and he loads the car on. He was a nice guy, maybe about my same age. And I was watching him real carefully, kind of scrutinizing, like, who did they send me? And they sent me somebody that could either act like a tow truck driver really well or an actual tow truck driver. So I explained to him kind of my situation, that I was trying to get back to any Hertz. I didn't care which one. And in our conversation on the way back, he told me about his family, how he had 4 kids. And the only other strange thing that happened on that long car ride, tow truck driver ride back to Cleveland, was that as I was getting this barrage of text from my family, we were on this really bumpy part of the road. So I was having a hard time keeping my phone focused and trying to text back to them, keep the wolves at bay. And he could tell, he must have been paying attention to what I was trying to do and seeing this number of texts that were coming in on the phone. And he did me a favor. He turns up the radio, and there was nothing coming through but static. And he kept changing the station. Like static, static, static. Not at a quiet volume, but, like at an annoying volume.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt in that instance that he was trying to show me something about how my attention was being drawn in 100 different directions at once. And it's like trying to listen to a radio that's got nothing but static and constantly changing stations in futility. So I kind of looked over at him and tried to see if he was psychically trying to send me a message, and it felt like he was. So I put my phone away and then drifted off into sleep. And by the time I woke up again, we were in Cleveland, and we were making our way through the small roads. We were off the highway, and he had somehow gotten the hotel that I was going to stay at that night. My mom had booked me a room at a hotel. I think it was like a DoubleTree in Cleveland, close to the airport. And in this little business park where this hotel resides, there was a bunch of deer bedding down for the night.
Hmm.
And he drew my attention. He said, "Look over there," just like the other tow truck driver had.
Crazy.
Look at those deer. I thought, that is the weirdest coincidence, you know?
Yeah,
the last time I
absolutely.
was in a tow truck,
Yeah.
I saw a deer.
No shit.
They didn't. This time they were so much closer. I could see that they weren't iridescent. They
Mhm.
were just regular deer.
Sure.
The other weird thing was at this hotel when I was trying to check in, there was a long line late at night. And when I got finally up to the desk, this line I had to wait through. There was no leaving
Mhm. Yeah,
because I
sure.
had a hotel room already reserved for me.
Yes.
This guy must have asked my name and my address and my phone number about 3 times. It was like he was stalling. I spelled Prystupa for him, 3 times, and I was thinking, like, what are you putting me up to, bud? What's going on here? So eventually he just gives me the keys to my room, and I go up, and I was thick in this frame of mind, like the have you heard of that voice to God technology that
Yes.
apparently the military has?
Voice to skull.
Voice to skull technology. I felt like I was like somebody was trying to get in touch with me voice to skull.
Mhm.
And I thought, this is just crazy. What have I just witnessed today? My car melted. I was stranded in Wauseon, Ohio, feeling like it was a Patonkan village, like the hills have eyes,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I was the only mark and everybody was a carny,
Yes.
So I thought, I got to do something to break up this karma. I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to get on an airplane tomorrow or what. If they have more shenanigans in store for me. It seems like they don't want me to go back to Colorado for some reason. So I thought I'd fight fire with fire. I'd get radical again and just, throw myself at the machine with everything I could muster. So I got out a Sharpie from my backpack and I took out the remaining bills that I had still in my wallet, and I began to write little messages on them, like "in the Fed," fuck Fauci, things like that. Like any message, any subversive message that came to mind, like
Yeah.
drawing swastikas over, the all-seeing eye and the pyramid,
Uh-huh.
just whatever I could think of that would be subversive that could get people's attention. So I was defacing the currency that I had left in my wallet. I stacked them all back up. But before that, I snapped a picture that I sent you of some sigil magic that I was trying to do. It was my safety glasses from work, the 2 knives I had bought at Walmart,
Mhm.
a couple of 20s, I think they were, plus the book that they'd given me in Chester at the mental institution, The Last Battle. And I arranged them in the shape of a pentagram, and I snapped the photo. So I thought, if these folks are tracking my trip, then I'll give them something something for them to chew on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
A little bit of sigil magic. So, I think I managed to get a little sleep that night, but I woke up early and went down to the hotel lobby, took all my credit cards out of my wallet, and I put them on the mantelpiece above the fire in the lobby. And just kind of like put them across the mantle, all my cards, my driver's license, my cell phone, and then I took the wad of cash that I had remaining and started just, leaving tips on the tables in the hotel lobby with all these subversive message prints on them, Then I ordered breakfast and I sat down and ate it.
Uh-huh.
Got just my backpack at this point and left my suitcase, I think, in the room. or maybe I left it in the car. I don't remember where I left my suitcase, but I didn't have it with me. Somehow, here's a side note. Somehow, eventually, 3 months later, I went to the Union Hall and to sign the books, as we call it in the union, and get another call. They had my suitcase there at the Union Hall in Denver.
What?
And it was only, maybe that's only when I put two and two together. I must have left my suitcase with all my clothes in it at the hotel before leaving Chester. And I think my my Union brothers that I insulted so profusely brought it up to Denver for me.
Interesting. Did you not inquire how it got there?
Yeah, I think he said that the guy at the hall said that somebody from insert name of company brought it up.
Gotcha.
From Colorado Springs. So I did get the suitcase back, but I must not have had it with me on this trip. All I had was my backpack and my guitar. I think. Anyway, I was going to get on the airplane with just nothing but my backpack. I got on the shuttle to go to the airport, and when I got to the airport, I must have kept my wallet with one card in it, my benefits card for the Union Health Savings account, and that was it. That was the only item I had in my wallet, and I brought this upon myself, right, by leaving my ID and my cell phone and everything, all the information back at the hotel. But I thought I wanted to see what would happen, because I've heard about all these undocumented people coming across the border with no identification, and we let them into the country, right?
Sure.
So I wanted to see what a guy with limited identification could do to get himself on a plane where he already had a ticket. All he had to do was walk up to the counter, get a boarding pass, and load himself onto the plane. But they wouldn't give me the boarding pass. And I said, I do have one card left in my wallet. And would this perhaps work? Because all they asked for was a credit card, which this technically was. So they swipe it. My name comes up on the screen. And they still refuse me. They said, so I'm sorry, that won't work. You won't be able to get on the plane regardless. So I started walking around the Cleveland airport looking for someone that could help me, and it was pretty busy. It wasn't like the airport in Chester. There were tons of people there. I walked over to this this TSA office area where there was a tall guy who introduced himself as Sam, and I said, "Are you with the TSA?" He says, "Yes." I said, "Here's my situation. I don't have any identification, but I have a boarding pass waiting for me if I could just claim it. But I don't know how I'm going to prove I'm myself. You know, I lost my wallet." And he says, "Oh, that's okay. You came to the right place. This is like the pre-check through the fast lane through the TSA. What's it called? I don't know what it's called." I said, "Oh, I think my sister has that. It's for easy boarding. You know, you just walk past TSA." He says, "Okay, get in line here," and I do, and they scan my retinas. The first thing that happens is they scan my retinas, and then they took my full set of fingerprints at this station. And I expected them to give me like a card or something, you know, and they didn't. So I walked back over to my buddy Sam, and I said, "You know, what was that for? I didn't get any kind of clearance there. They didn't give me any receipt or anything. They just scanned my retinas, took my fingerprints." And he says, "Oh, yeah, well, you're still going to need a boarding pass and an ID to get on a plane." I said,
"What?
Did I not explain to you the situation just not 5 minutes ago? Are you messing with me, man?" I said, "What would you recommend for a guy? My plane's going to be taking off pretty soon. You know, I'm already running late. What would you do if you were in my situation?" He said, "Oh, I don't know. He said this, have you tried walking through TSA?" And I looked at him like, "What? No, of course I wouldn't do that. You know, that would that would really freak some people out, don't you think? You know?" And he says, "Give it a shot. Give it a shot," he says. So I said, "Okay, maybe this is part of the game." They had the power to ruin my Honda on the side of the road, what can't they do?
Yeah.
So I started walking through TSA. I got past the area where everybody's putting their luggage through the chute, and I got I was walking very slowly, in control, probably wearing this exact same shirt. And it wasn't until my pulse was racing. I was scared. I was scared of what I was doing.
I could imagine.
I got to the part where they do the body scan, and they were all full. I thought, now of all times, there couldn't be an opening. Like I just had to walk through there, and then I was, clear.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew a few things going into this. I knew that TSA is actually an illegal, unconstitutional organization, and that if it weren't for what happened in 2001, that we wouldn't be subjecting ourselves to this madness.
Yeah.
So knowing that, having that in my back pocket, I thought, if they try to do something to me, at least I know that this is an illegal operation and that my rights are intact. So in my panic, I tried to barge through the body scanner past this real fat guy, and he just grabs me, gets me in a bear hug. And then the next thing I know, all the king's horses and all the king's men have swarmed around me. They've surrounded me. They throw the handcuffs on me, and they throw them on tight.
Wow.
And I thought, we'll see where this goes. If I've committed a crime, then they will have to charge me. I felt like I had been sold out by that Sam guy, whoever he was, and I was on my way somewhere again, just like back in the lobby of the Chester Hotel.
Jeez.
So I think they load me into some kind of a patrol car. I don't know if it was a security guard car or a TSA car or what. It was a copish type car. And they took me immediately to an ER, of what appeared to me to be an emergency room. And this is where it starts to get real weird again. I'll just forewarn you. They were kind of making fun of me because I wasn't talking, because they hadn't read me my rights, or they hadn't said, you have a right to an attorney. No one had arrested me. They just threw the cuffs on me, and the next thing I know, I'm in this emergency room.
Which is in the airport?
No, it was not in the airport.
Okay.
It wasn't far from the airport, but it was not in the airport.
Okay.
And they said, he's giving us the silent treatment. And then these nurses, doctors, EMTs, whatever they were, started tearing my clothes off. They unbuttoned my jeans, pulled my jeans down, pulled my boxers down, pulled the shirt over my head, and in front of all these nurses, like no warning.
Wow.
And then the next thing I know, these nurses have this catheter kit.
What?
And one of the nurses jokes, she says, "Don't give him any lube." And they catheterized me. And I'd never been, that was a first for me. I'd never had that happen. These were the female nurses, luckily, doing this too. It made it a little more bearable somehow. And it was kind of kinky.
What could possibly be the purpose for that?
Well, apparently it was the most important thing that had to happen, because it was the first thing they did.
So strange.
And so I didn't know this, but like when you are catheterized, you involuntarily urinate. So my urine was coming through the catheter into a bottle, and they just whisked that away. But a few minutes later, I was like, I really have to pee, which is weird because I just peed.
Mm-hmm.
So I told the nurses, like, hey, get me whatever you got. I got to go to the bathroom again. So they bring me this bottle, right? And I pee right there into the bottle. And at first, I was just looking at this bottle of urine, like, where have I found myself? And I said, hey, I don't know if you can come take this away. I don't need it, But as I was sitting there alone, I looked at this bottle and I could see something swimming around inside of it. Some whitish, translucent kind of thing that looked like some kind of squid. And I thought, am I hallucinating this?
How big?
About the size of a quarter.
What the
You know?
fuck?
And I thought, like, I'm hallucinating this. So I turned the bottle around to see, like, if I could see a better image. And it swam away from me. So, like, it swam to the far side of the bottle. I'd turn it, and it swam away
What
from me every
the
time.
fuck?
You know?
That's
Was I seeing things or what?
okay, my friend. I'm going to go and hang out with my kids a little bit before they go to bed. Can you tell the listeners and viewers where they might find you if you want to be found online?
Yeah. I've been haunting the halls of X, formerly Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
under the an account name. It's ACCT account ACCT Monte Cristo, spelled MONTE
Yes.
CRISTO. ACCT Monte Cristo, with no spaces or underscores or anything, just the letters. And that's where you get all my mental diarrhea.
It took me a minute to realize that was you, but yeah, it made sense when I figured out it was you.
Oh yeah, we're
Yes.
friends on Twitter. I
Yes.
post your stuff any chance I get, but
Thank you.
I use it as a notebook, as a journal. So it's probably overwhelming for certain people that read every one of my tweets. But someday there might be a record, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's already the Akashic records.
Yeah. If we have to be who we are out there in the public, if the surveillance state is watching us, they have a right to know where people's minds are at.
Yep.
You know, that the revolution won't be televised, but it might be on X.
Yeah.
I see people practicing telepathy and mind reading on there all the time.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't want to keep you from your kids. Can I say set the captives free? And that if anybody wants to check out on some other videos of me and Steven and some other folks, my channel is Syrup Tap.
On
Syrup
Rumble.
Tap, all one word, yeah.
Yes. Cool. Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll do it again. We'll talk about Rush next time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll talk soon. And of course, I will let you know when this comes out.
You too.
All right. Take care.